scripture today is from Matthew 25, verses 31 to 46, modified. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his throne. All the nations will be before him, and he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep and the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. My roof leaked, and you fixed it. My house was cold, and you made it warm. I had problems in my life, and you accepted me like I was." Then the righteous responded, "When did we see you hungry and give you food, or see you thirsty and give you drink? When did we fix your roof, or make your house warmer, or befriend in a time of need in your life?" The king will reply, "I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me." Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me. You are the cursed into the eternal fire. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. My roof leaked, and you walked away. My house was cold, and you told me to get a job. You looked at my problems and found me unworthy of your friendship and company." They will also respond, when did we see you hungry, thirsty, in housing, in need of repair, or turn away from you?" He will reply, "I tell you the truth. Whatever you did not for one of the least of those, you did not do for me."
Okay, so here's the big show we're going to talk about. You can see it's an adventure. Every time we go on this trip, I guarantee it is an adventure. What would Jesus do? What question, right? You know, bracelets were real popular with that for a while. Most people don't wear it because it's too hard. They look down at that bracelet and go, "No, I can't do that." So as we move forward here, we're going to give the city a note and we move forward. So these are our 16 missionaries that we took with us this year. A good group. Go all through the names. Miriam's not here today. Kyla's not. Beth read our scripture. I'm obviously Marlin. Levi, where's Levi? I saw him back there. Yeah, he's back there in the back. I've got Addison here in the front row. Hannah over here. Rafe is not here today. Jill, our organist, I always worry about her when the trip. Her fingers are very important. Right? Her husband Will right next to her. Mikkel, did I see Mikkel here? Yes, I did. She's there in the back. Gage is back there. You'll see a picture of him looking different. Ava, she's not here with her foot healed fine. Giovanni, raise your hand. He was the one with the hammer up here. And then Les is not here. And then Eli is right over there. So Eli did it. So those are our missionaries this year. I'm sure after many of us, in our Christian world, we've heard about the story of the burning bush. And if you look at that, right, so Moses sees this, and he had to look. For whatever reason, he couldn't turn away. But many people turned away from that burning bush. Some people even stomped it out. But for whatever reason, some of us see it, and we're inspired to move towards it. And then we get asked a question, go do something. And just as Moses replied, "Who am I that I should go?" Who are we that we should go help people? For whatever reason, these missionaries saw the burning bush, and they answered it. I find that very interesting. So here we are, getting ready to go. The 16 of us, I was that one person laying down on the job. But the support Pastor Dave has given us through this whole thing has been outstanding. That makes my job and everybody's job a lot easier. So those are our team getting ready to start off. What's our goal? Number one goal is for our youth to have a good time. A lot of people think that's not our goal. That is our goal. What do we try to teach? That helping people can be fun. Helping people feels good. I think that's something that you have to learn. It's not always a gift that we have. Some of our other goals, fellowship to a family less fortunate than our own. I think a lot of us here have been born into a fairly reasonably good life. Why? Luck. DNA. Nothing else. The only reason some of us are privileged is who we were born to. Some of the reasons other people are underprivileged, same thing. It's where they were born. And one of the things I've found is that we usually don't socialize outside of our economic class. These people who are poor down there, they don't get visited by middle class people. They don't get visited by rich people. They only get visited by poor people. You got no poor people around. And just think of it. Most of us don't probably socialize with millionaires. And I don't socialize much with people on food stamps. I socialize within my own economic class. So do they. So sometimes when we socialize with them, we are the only socialization they get. Nobody else is worthy to talk to them. So, fellowship to a family. And what's our final goal? Everybody thinks it's our first goal, right? Fix the house up. We're not expert carpenters. We're out there working the best we can. But I guarantee you their house is better than when we found it. I guarantee that. So our goals. Some thank yous I want to hit right off the get-go. Gail Gerard, see some of these red shirts. Eli had one. Beth had one on. Will and Jill had those. She made those shirts especially for us and say Manuka on them. So when we get down there, you can tell who's together, a team. So Gail does that for us. Kim, I can't thank you enough for a great breakfast. Once again, to have that full belly when we take off is good. My wife, Adrian, for making sure we do a little bit of fundraising with the SCRIP program, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And obviously, all of you out here from congregation for a little bit with your dollars. We can't do this on our own, so thank you very much. Next slide. Woo, the number one thing I need as a team captain is I need good lieutenants, right? My other group leaders, they understand the goals of this mission. So look what they're sacrificing. A week of their vacation. We all know how hard it is to earn vacation. They gave up a week for it. To do what? Be a role model for a week. Put a lot of miles on your vehicle. Lead a construction project. But look at that one in bold. How many people would sign up for that, right? Hey, you want to spend a week with teenagers? I guarantee you there's no problem. Geez, you get all these guys. No, they're going to be tired, working hard. There's going to be no drama. We're going with teenagers, leaving. Well, guess what? And then be surprised every day with something new. I'm telling you, you can't get dealt a goof your hand when we get dealt up there. So I can't thank our group leaders enough for what they've done to make this a successful trip over time. And this is who our group leaders are. Beth, who we've read our scripture 15 years, Les, who lives in Indianapolis now. We were struggling for a group leader 2 weeks before the trip. I called him up and I said, I'm desperate, and he comes through for me. He had already gone with our group 10 years, and what a blessing to have Les just jump forward at the last minute when we were new and in trouble. And then Will and Jill, being the young group leaders that have really supported our team, that without them the last few years it would have failed. So a round of applause for these group leaders. Our theme, and I think this goes very well with those who've been here for the last few weeks for Pastor Dave's service on Jonah and the whale. Boy, is this all over right here? And then we walk right down there in ASP, and 2 or 3 nights we talk about kindness, compassion. Can you really find it? If you recall last week, I challenged you to pick one day that you didn't say one negative word the entire day. I had a couple people call me by 9:30, that already blew. I did okay till I got behind the wheel when I was driving. Took me about 10 minutes on the interstate. Oh man, I don't even know that person. I just did something. But yeah, try that again. I think it's something that we all need to try to do, is every day pick one day a week that you will not say anything negative. Just see if you can do it. It's not that easy. But I think when we try to be a little bit more kind and compassionate, you find that forgiving is a little bit easier. We talk a lot about forgiveness, but we don't always get there, right? We don't always get there. So our theme for the week. ASP in general, now they build about 20 new homes a year. 3,000 repair projects. We obviously were involved in 3 of those. 10,000 volunteers. 3 or 4 years ago, they had 15,000. People ain't volunteering to help people anymore. That's why they had to lower the age from out of 8th grade to 6th grade. But I found these younger individuals that we took, almost all these young men that we saw, weren't even in high school yet. Oh my gosh, did they work hard. I was so impressed with those. But that's why they had to lower the age. Fewer and fewer people are willing to go out and help people. And why? Because, boy, there's challenges on the mission trip. The typical ones are, what's beyond that mountain? I've never been there before. What's beyond that curve? And believe me, you don't drive straight very long down there. You're turning around mountains. Coming around the mountain wasn't a song for nothing, right? And what's under that house? That's always the biggest surprise, all right? You got to work under the house. What's under that house? Right? What's under that house? And then sacrifices. Well, privacy, forget it. When you're in that shower, that's our showers. There are 3 of the doors on the right were the girls, 3 of the doors on the left were the males. So that's the only time you had privacy, was when you were in that 5 foot by 5 foot, or not even that big. Food quality and quantity, you're on a mission trip. You didn't have a gourmet chef for us every day, but we did have decent food. Hot showers, well, the first 2 days we didn't have any warm water at all. We had a problem. They figured it out by Wednesday. A garden hose over your head, that's our shower. Garden hose over your head. Those are sacrifices, right? A lot of people don't like sacrifices. I like my nice shower. And that's one of the things when you get home, your own bed, your own shower. What do you like those? Next slide, please. Once again, surprises or challenges. Well, the first day we stepped on a nail. One of the kids in my group, right? Eli stepped on a nail. And of course, everybody says, was it rusty? Yeah, we put a brand new nail through the step. Of course it's a rusty nail, right? We're doing demolition, but the number one thing, step on a nail. Was it rusty? Of course it was rusty. We're in the middle of a demolition project. Then the women had a toilet failure. They had their own rooms, our building, so yeah, so you can imagine that's an emergency when you got 30 women over there. And then we did have one person injure their foot, so we got to go to one of the teams got to go to the emergency room. I couldn't say anything because 2 years ago I was in the Buckhorn Medical Clinic. But yeah, some of our daily challenges. So we began. I talked about how Kim made us a great breakfast. Once again, a big advantage to our group. The support system that we have when we leave here. That's the thing that I enjoy most about that breakfast. We probably have 20 other people who aren't going on that mission trip here to send us off. What a warm feeling to have that huge group here to send you off. We get on our way about 8:40 in the morning. And there is our spread that we have. So Kim got that all set up for us. So we're able to use those tables and had a great breakfast before we go. We get outside, I say my last few words of good luck, a short prayer, and then we're on our way. But once again, the support, we're all in a big circle, we're all held in hands, and we're all praying together as we leave. So why do we go on this trip? Answering people's prayers. It's only been a few times in my life when I said, you know what, I've been praying for help. You're the answer to my prayers. How many times do you hear teenagers are the answers to your prayers, right? Unless you go on this mission trip, you're probably never going to hear it. One of the big things that the mission program pushed this year, once if you think about it, the quality of a person's home, the cleanliness of a person's home, whether it has mold or other issues with it, is directly related to people's health. A few years ago, ASP was one of the first groups to talk about food deserts. Right? Now we're hearing that fairly common. Now they're talking about there's a direct relationship to the quality of a person's home to their health. They found this one individual just by removing his carpeting and putting in all hardwood floors, improved his asthma. All of a sudden he didn't have near the respiratory issues. ASP is in the forefront of understanding how some of these repairing homes makes a difference in people's lives. Lessons. I think there's a lot of lessons out there, but I think some of the lessons are, guess what? There's haves and there's have-nots. So some of the other lessons, right? We've heard this. It's not where you're going. It's the journey. It's not the destination. It's the journey. It helps us understand poverty. Helps us to accept the poverty, right? If you know you have a problem with somebody, the best way to deal with it is talk to them, learn about it. We sit down and talk with these families. I spent a lot of time with Tommy and Charlie. Jesus even says we cannot save the poor from their lot. There's always going to be poor out there. Does that mean we ignore them? We can't give them everything, but we got to realize that there's always going to be poor out there. And then once again, there's other lessons out there that we're going to learn along the way. Next slide. We get down, we drive to Lexington after leaving here, the breakfast, make about 4 or 5 bathroom stops, whatever, finally get to Lexington. And then we're met by Mike Watts. 12 years ago, he embraced us and started making a fantastic meal for us. The previous 13 years, we got there, we had to go out and buy food, find a place to eat. Now he takes care of us. And he always reads this scripture. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. You never know what an angel's dressed like, right? I tell them, I put that quote in my presentation every year. It makes me very proud. Next slide, please. There's Mike. Well, what a great guy. What a great guy. I'd like to give him more accolades. After we leave, we blow up our air mattresses, sleep on the floor there at the church, and then we pack up early in the morning and go to Cracker Barrel. I want to thank all the people who stuck some money in my hand that last minute before we left. It helped us pay for this breakfast. Next slide. So we're eating at Cracker Barrel. I'll go through the next couple here briefly. We always spend a little time there at Cracker Barrel, socializing, and then we got to do a little sightseeing. See that it says Sky Bridge. Next slide. So we're up on that natural arch, and you can see the picture on the right. You can kind of see a long way from up there. We have a few hours to kill, so always trying to do a little bit of sightseeing. And once again, it was quite a bit of a hike around there, but we did our hiking as well. Go ahead, next slide. Yeah, so now we finally get to our destination about 2:45, and here we are at the Montgomery Baptist Church. The men slept in the church on the left, and we had our lunches and our breakfasts there, and then the women were on the building on the right. Next slide. And that's where the women stayed. That's where they slept, and their quarters were. Next slide. This is how we did our breakfast and then our dinners. We did have cooks that came in and made us meals. We made sandwiches for lunches, so peanut butter and jelly, ham and cheese, but we just ate sandwiches for lunch. That orange dot down there to the far bottom right, that's where we were this year. That's just a little map I keep of the different years I've gone. And this is very similar to my life. If you connect all those dots, none of them are a straight line. You know, if you listen to a lot of music, Harry Chapin lately goes up. No part of my life has been a straight line, and every road has a bend. A lot of people think they're going to get from point A to point B, but everybody's life goes like this, right? Something comes up that changes it. Nobody's life is a straight line. So that's Lexington up there in the upper left-hand corner. So we were very close to Virginia and West Virginia this year. Sleeping quarters. This was my bed's on the bottom left. You can see it's well made there. But we had fairly tight sleeping quarters. So that was the boys' sleeping quarters. This was the girls' sleeping quarters over there. See, some of them had their beds made, and some of them didn't. I always find that kind of interesting. I make my bed because I jump into it each night, so it worked out good. So a little bit about our stage. Most nights we had an evening gathering. We got up, we sang a few songs, and we talked about kindness and compassion. For whatever reason, just like here, we were in the back row. But we were in the back, but we were there for evening gathering each night when we did things. A little bit about where we were. We were in Knott County, Hazard, Kentucky. A lot of people think the Duke's a Hazard, but that was Georgia. But anyway, we were right by Hazard, Kentucky. If you look for a big town, there wasn't nothing in the town we were in. Nothing. So if you wanted anything, you had to drive 30 minutes. So you think about those people if they need groceries. Their gas down there wasn't much cheaper. If you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to drive very far, right? Gas prices. Logging and mining was the only activity. A little bit of mining there, mostly logging. But I find that second bullet the most interesting one. During the Civil War, almost every school in Kentucky was burned down. And for 50, 60, 70 years, they did no schooling at all in that entire state. They still see that as a challenge for them today, that education has never become a priority because of the Civil War and how that next 60 years went after that. So I find that an interesting understanding of the culture of that area. Chores, when we're down there, we don't get to sit on our laurels all day. Each team that we have, one night we're assigned cleaning the bathrooms, cleaning the showers. High school kids love cleaning somebody else's bathroom, I tell you that. So if they tell you they don't know how to do it, they're kidding you. They had to do it down there. We have to clean up after dishes. We have to clean the rooms. We all have chores every single day. So when we come back from work, we have chores to do when we get back, and they're all assigned to us randomly. We had a picnic Wednesday night. You can see one of our groups worked with this family, and we'll talk a little bit more about them in a little bit, but we did have the picnic there, and some of the families did show up there. So just another picnic picture. In the past, we used to do culture night. Now they call it community night. So we went to the Perry County Fair, which was kind of good. We had some other evening activities, Gage. I thought you'd really like that picture. And for whatever reason, the kid bought me a dad joke book. I thought I was well prepared. Going for ice cream. You can see on the right there, they're not on their phones. They're making bracelets and things along those lines. How about that? With no cell service, our kids were able to survive. So when you think about this overall, if you want to improve the poor people's lot there in Kentucky, and you want to do it by improving their homes, I think option A would be your best bet, right? Hire project managers, make sure you got a hospitality crew, that all your volunteers are just got great accommodations, and hire skilled craftsmen. Or you could go to option B, hire college kids to run it, just get a bunch of volunteers to show up, and most of them are going to be high school age. Which one of those do you think is going to be successful, right? This ASP has been successful 55 years with this program. Using college kids to run it, volunteers to run the projects, and the workforce is high school kids. And it's successful. It's successful every single year. So now into our projects. This is a project I was able to work on, and if you come on up, I'm going to have Eli talk a little bit about it. And Levi, when we get to yours, I can throw you under the bus, but I'm going to have you come up and talk about yours. Be prepared here if you can. Okay, so this is what we had to do. We had a 10-year-old boy and his floor. Go ahead. Stand right by me. I forgot there's no microphone. And we had to replace the floor with some 12-foot joists. Next picture, please. The family, we had 4 adults living in this house and one 10-year-old boy. They bought the house 2 years ago, and it was flooded. It was totally flooded at one time. And that's what you're going to find. A few of our projects 2 years ago, Knott County had a terrible flood. That room, that building I showed you that the girls slept in, the water was the roof in there. So even that church was totally underwater. Next picture. This is our team. Not a great picture, but kind of a picture. Next picture. Okay, Eli, I'll turn it over to you. So, Eli, what do we do in this house?
We replaced the kids' floor with we had to replace the girders because they were rotting away, and the supports because they were also rotting away.
Yeah, so day one they had to rip out the floor, and then we found all the boards along the edge were rotted as well. Before we started, once we got everything removed, we practiced putting things together first. Do you remember what you're doing here?
We're removing a part of the
Band joist.
And it was just stuck in, so we just had to get rid of it because we had to replace it.
And I talked about, we removed the floor, but look at that picture. Look at those smiles up there. Eli, were you pretty happy here? Why were you happy? Talking to the microphone. Why were you happy?
I'm happy because I was just helping somebody.
Yeah, but look at the smiles on those faces. They removed that entire floor, and you can see what they're standing on. They had replaced those joists themselves, right? Next picture. This is the family we were working for. We got Sammy there in the middle, Tommy behind Sammy, and Charlene and Maggie. Their daughter Cecilia that lives there, she did not want to be in the picture, so we had another adult in there as well. And there's our finished floor. There's our finished floor. Thank you, Eli. All right, give Eli. I can tell you that most of these kids work a lot better than they public speak. But oh my gosh, to think what we had to begin with, and this is what they walked out of there with. Oh yeah, we did have a surprise on Wednesday. I come out and this truck is stuck. It's down to the chassis, and 3 feet behind the back of that truck is a 40-foot ravine.
Okay.
I don't know how they did this, but we spent an hour and a half getting that baby out of there, and that picture in no way depicts how dangerous that situation was. Okay, yeah, Gio, I didn't say to throw you under the bus, but yeah, I'm going to throw you under the bus too. This was the project where I mentioned they were sentenced to 2 days hard labor by breaking up blocks with a sledgehammer. Like I said, their woman that they worked for had fallen down the stairs twice, broke bones in her face, and that's why we're doing this. Her husband was killed in the mine 40 years ago. She was born in this house and married in this house. The team, go ahead and tell me, what are we doing here?
So right here, we're building a wheelchair ramp, and there was a big block of concrete stairs that we had to get rid of. So that took about a day and a half to move all the concrete ramp.
And you see that air conditioner there? You think you wanted any of that concrete to fall on that air conditioner or the lines going to that air conditioner? So they not only had to swing sledgehammers, but they had to watch out for some they liked air conditioning down there in that area. Where are we at now?
So right here, we moved all of these blocks out. We're just trying to shovel away all the little rocks. We have a wheelbarrow, we can't really see that. Here we dug some 16 by 16 by 2 feet deep holes that we're staking 4x4s to make the posts.
And as they're digging these holes, keep in mind, this is a mountain rock. You don't dig very far without hitting a rock, right? They always say, why are we hitting rock? I said, you're on a mountain. So as they continue on, what are you doing on the right there?
I'm making supports for the 2x6s so they don't rot away and fall. So they don't break.
Once again, accomplishment. They were sentenced to 2 days hard labor with a sledgehammer. Then the reward was digging post holes. One more slide, I think we got that. So what do you got there? How much more did they have to go?
Well, that was the finished project. We did, the next group is going to have to take over. I don't think you can see it in this picture, but we mapped out some more holes that the other people had to dig. And then they're going to stick in more supports.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, this is a 6-week mission program, so there's another group coming in next week to finish this. We didn't leave it like this for that lady, right? Walking out in big trouble for her, right? But yeah, so week 1, they removed the steps. Once again, 2 days, hard labor, and then built this wheelchair ramp. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Group 3, once again, Levi, if you don't mind coming up here, you kind of saw how I threw the others under the boat. You're going to kind of get the same treatment here. Go ahead and give me the next slide, Cindy, as she's walking up. I mentioned there was a terrible flood down there in Knott County, and many of the houses were totally destroyed, and some just severely damaged. So part of theirs was replacing some of the FEMA projects here. So what were you doing here? This was your first project?
We were hammering some joists into the ceiling.
So they didn't have all the joists up there?
No, they were like sitting sideways.
Yeah, so they got there, these projects were like 2/3 done, and the contractors just left. So now they come back and they've got to figure out what needs to be done and then complete it. So as you can see with this project, they had some pretty clean work environments. Nobody fell off the ladder. No. So was this the same project?
Well, that was, we had to drill some little, I don't know.
Gusset plates?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, they just know, put this there, you know, and they get it. You remember the woman you worked for on this one? It was...
Emily.
What?
Emily.
Yeah, Eva Lee was her name, and I think she had a couple of kids in the house. When their house was being washed away by the flood, they still had 2 people in the house. Were you there when she told that story on that one?
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So next picture, please.
Oh, that's great.
I think that's Gage up there working, right? I think we got work out here, didn't we, Gage? Yeah, I was pretty sure we did. Do you have many animals there?
Yeah, there were 2 geese, a bunch of chicken, like 5 dogs.
2 geese. How many chickens?
I don't know. Like 5 dogs, and then there were 5 cats.
Anyway, as you look back at this, what would you say? If you were to say, I mentioned that I hope kids had fun on the trip. Now to throw you really under the bus, what was the most fun you had on the trip? Was there anything that was fun?
Probably going to the ice cream place.
All right, thank you very much. All right, give them a round of applause. So you can see a lot of times these kids aren't sure exactly what they're doing, but they know they're doing it the right way. Because why? Somebody's standing there saying, good job, all right? But it goes well. I'll say some of the houses were just repaired, and but they had them wired. So that's Les there on the left. I wanted to give him a little bit of a shout out there as well. The one injury we had, that's Michaela on the right and Ava there on the left. I think that's right after she dropped it on her foot, or is that just before she dropped it on her foot? Right before she dropped it on her foot. Because when they said we're in the emergency room, she dropped a pallet on her foot. What? How big is a pallet? That's a big pallet. That's a big pallet. But yeah, so we did have one emergency room. That last day, they were merged with a team from Memphis, Tennessee. At this mission, it wasn't just people from Manuka, but we had people there from Memphis, Tennessee, Danville, Illinois, and also Joliet, Illinois. But they were teamed up with a group from Memphis. I believe this is the 3rd or 4th day. But look at them all still smiling, right? These people have been working their tail off all week, and every picture you look at, you see a smile. Oh, okay. That's right. Some of the homeowners will try to do something. So he was smoking bologna. I asked them how they could keep it lit. That's what they were talking about, right? But they were all bragging about, yeah, Rick made us smoke bologna today, and I did mention that we had one person drop something on their foot, but she's at work and she's doing good. Okay, let me get to a couple other lessons here. What are the biggest lessons parents want their kids to get out of this trip? I think number 2 is they want them to learn how to fix things. But the number 1 lesson I hear from parents is, I want them to know how good they have it. I want them to know how good they have it. But let me tell you something. Why do we send our youth on these missions? Not to count our blessings. No. It's to be a blessing. To be a blessing is a big difference. It took me a long time to get this. It didn't happen after the first couple years. For a person to understand they are blessed, I think you have to have a certain level of maturity. This trip does not offer maturity. It doesn't create maturity. It doesn't cause maturity. But what it does do is it teaches kids that by working hard and by putting sweat equity into something, you can be a blessing. That's what we teach here. I do not go out there with the expectation that some kid is going to come back and say, boy, is my life good compared to these other people. What I hope they come back and say is, I found out I could help somebody. Just me, a teenager. I can change somebody's life. So some of the challenges out there. Some of the other lessons we learn. Failure. You can't avoid it. Learn from it. Pick up where you're at, learn from your failure, and move forward. Katerina. Yeah, if you've ever seen the movie Overboard, a rich person ends up being poor for a few days and has their blinders ripped off and sees the rest of the world. That's what we offer our youth. Is it maturity? No, but what it is an opportunity to see what life is like for someone else and live that life with your sacrifices that go along with it. A couple other lessons, right? Self-esteem, mental health. To me, what's the most important thing about mental health is self-esteem. When you teach kids, you see the smiles on their face when they completed those projects? That's what it's all about, right? And how did they get that smile? Being a blessing. Being a blessing. We teach them you can be successful in an unknown, awkward, difficult time. Many of the people say, I wouldn't do that kind of work. That's beneath me. That's beneath me. Tom Whitaker, all these pictures that you see up here were painted by a man named Tom Whitaker. And he lived in that area. He lived in Appalachia. And he says, you know what? All work is good work. All work is good work. And he says that's one of the biggest lessons that we teach down there to those people who live down there is young kids can work. Role models are out there, and they're dressed like little angels in blue jeans and stuff and doing that work for us. And I can tell you, most of these kids, they worked harder than they ever worked in their life that week. Most of them have. Most of them have, right? Next slide, please. Yeah, a few quotes that I've kept in here over the years. Some of you may have heard of Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, people will never forget how you made them feel. That family that we spent time with, at the end of this, we're going to shut off the live stream and we're going to play a lot more of the pictures. And the music you're going to hear behind it, I mentioned that at our family we had a 10-year-old boy. Every day he came out and sang to us this song. By day 2, we all took turns up there singing with him. By day 5, we were all singing and dancing on the porch with this young man singing this song. I hope he doesn't forget how we made him feel. I know how it made me feel. So our program, a lot of people talk the talk of Christianity and God's work. Some of them here walk the walk. So when you think about an angel, most of the time you don't think of a teenager, dirty, out there messing around, goofing off. But I was with 10 angels this year. Some older ones, maybe 15 more, or 5 more adults. But to watch these kids work like that, and of course, our angels sometimes a little on the other side of the line. Yeah, I guess they are. I can guarantee it. But these youth and adults, they walk the walk, right? They walk the walk. So one last thank you. I couldn't thank those angels, those kids enough for being there. The chaperones, you people who support us financially with your script cards, the financial donors, and of course all your congregation for your support. I hope you feel half as good as I do about this. If you do, you're riding pretty high up there. To see these young people step up and bless another person, what a feeling it is. Thank you very much for listening.